Coach Amber, and welcome to the Meet RX Success Story podcast. Today we have one of our own coaches, Coach Ashley. Welcome, Ashley.
Hi, how are you?
Absolutely wonderful. Thanks for asking. It's a good day.
Great.
Okay, so let's get started. Let's hear a little bit about your background. I want to know what your health and life was like prior to starting an animal-based diet.
Sure. Well, my life my life was probably full of more depression and anxiety and turmoil than most of the people I knew growing up. I had a lot of complicated family situations, and if you're familiar with the ACE score, adverse childhood experiences, I have a high score of 10 on that. So I was introduced to therapy and family psychology and stuff at a very young age to address physical things that I experienced at the hand of child abuse and neglect. And that eventually led to me dealing with major depression in my pre-teen years. And that led to, lots of medications. At a particular time, I was on more than 10 medications for anxiety, depression, and a suicide attempt. So my story is very focused on emotional dysregulation based on lack of nutrition and lack of stability in the family. And as I was thinking back on what kind of nutrition I had during that time, I could see the pattern of, as the family broke apart and things were more mobile, like going from one house to another, eating food at different places in transit and things like that, my nutrition tanked. And I had strep throat constantly. I was calling out of school all the time because I was, sick all the time as a kid. And I had physical ailments like a distended belly. I was constipated chronically, and I had insomnia. So I was just high anxiety most of my childhood. Things started changing for me, though, after I overcame anorexia and bulimia by starting to eat meat again, but I was eating normal foods like, breads and things that most Americans feel are just part of the normal diet. And my acne that had begun at the age of 16 had gotten so bad that I couldn't act anymore. I was an actress, and my self-esteem was so bad. I had several jobs, but I just hated life. A distended belly, acne all over the face, depression. And I didn't really have family support, so there was really no future that I was planning, or, I didn't really know what I was doing with my life. So I recovered from my eating disorder. I started trying to eat normal food. I discovered gluten sensitivities, and I removed gluten from my diet. I discovered dairy sensitivities and its connection to my acne. I removed dairy from my diet. I then went vegan and vegetarian, kind of jumping back and forth. But yeah, but it kind of helped my acne a little bit, but it really it turned me into a pre-diabetic person who was highly anxious and still dipping in and out of dependency on medications. So although I had felt that I had recovered a great deal, I was still not clear about how sugar and carbohydrates in general were affecting the way I felt and the way I looked. I became a health coach in 2013, and I still failed to find nutrition. So I then was told by someone I knew at that time that I just didn't eat enough meat. And if I started eating more meat and intermittent fasting and things like that, then maybe I could lower my intolerances to, insulin. So I think that helped me. The intermittent fasting helped me a lot, but I was still eating carbohydrates. And, it wasn't until carnivore that things just freaking turned around, because I did go keto. I did the whole bulletproof thing, went keto. Then when I implemented carnivore, like, things changed.
I totally relate to that. So
Yeah.
let me just ask you really quick. I feel like you still are very much connected to your past and some of the hurt that you went through dealing with all these emotional, mental kind of issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard not to be. It's part of who you are.
Absolutely. And I think that's why we'll talk about later of the impact you have and why you became a coach. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But now let's get on to question 2. How, when you first started an animal-based diet, how did you implement it? Like, what's a typical day like for you? What did you include? What did you not include? And did you have any traditional issues?
Sure. When I first started strict carnivore, it was strict. I heard these, I was listening to podcasts and I heard about Dr. Baker. I listened to everything he said, the way he said it, and I read in between the lines. And I was like, I just have to do it. I just have to do meat and no coffee. I need to do meat and no salt. I just need to do meat and water and see what happens. So that's what I did. I did grass-fed beef, and I didn't use coconut oil. I used, sometimes I'd use like bacon fat rendered or something like that. But I really wanted to I wanted to start from the base and see, like, you're using first principles. What is it and how does it affect you? And then after several weeks of that, I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks of that, because I went by 2 weeks. My partner and I, we checked in. We're like, do you want to keep doing this? And I was like, yeah, I like this. And we were like, okay, more. We'll do more of just beef and water. But when I started adding coffee back in, I could tell a difference. And I've decided to keep coffee in because I do like variety. And it's not a difference to a point where it hurts me or harms me. I just don't see the 6-pack right now. And I know that if I go meat and water, I can see my muscles. Do I want that? I don't necessarily want that. So yeah, that's what I did when I first started it. Then I experienced, adding bacon and duck eggs and things like that. And I just kind of widened my variety. I started getting like a butcher box delivery thing, so I didn't have to think about it. I was not well versed in cooking meat anyway, other than patties or, a couple steaks or something. So I got a good variety of like access to things I normally wouldn't go out and buy by getting like a delivery service, which was really cool. So yeah.
What about transitional issues? Did you have any kind of ill effects, like maybe fatigue or digestive issues?
I didn't have any digestive issues. I had digestive changes that were very positive. My history, in relation, so my gut damage it was not just physical damage from something that happened during all of those crazy events in my family, but it was also intolerances. Like the doctor told my family she can't have dairy, but I would eat dairy anyway. So I had very, I would call it permeated gut lining. Just my gut lining was just wrecked. So anything I ate, I'd get this bloated belly, even on keto. because of all the fiber. It was so irritating on my gut. So I was pleasantly surprised that I didn't have diarrhea or constipation. I didn't have bloatedness and heaviness and kind of a low mood because I was carrying that anymore. I just felt really good. I just felt like me. I wasn't carrying like parasitic worry or stress in that very sensitive area, the gut, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. And that is a very common thing. Okay, so now we're going to get into what is your life like now after implementing the carnivore diet? Tell us about the improvements of the situations you mentioned in the first question. You went over a little bit about the digestive stuff, but go ahead and expand on that and tell us how everything is improved.
Okay. So as a health coach in 2013, my biggest concern was not just my distended belly, but it was my acne, because I wasn't getting the results that I was looking for. But going carnivore resolved my acne issues. And I have before and after photos of me on the MeatRx platform where you go into my coaching profile, you can see before and after. And I look like a completely different person, to be honest with you. And I feel like I'm accessing the person inside of me that I always wanted to, that I struggled to for a long time. So I've benefited from carnivore on such a deep level, a profound level that, you know, I work with visuals, creative visuals a lot. And when I think about the cellular structure in my body, I think a lot about the purpose of a very healthy cell membrane. And if I don't have the border there, then I don't have a firm identity and I don't have firm boundaries. So when I'm doing that inside of my body on a cellular level, I'm doing that outwardly. So not only do I feel more structured inside of my body, and my function follows the structure, so I function very well. I'm doing that outwardly with my confidence. I've really just grown exponentially with the carnivore diet. I'm making career goals that I had been trying to do since early 2000s. I'm now in a field that I love and I care so much about. It's in alternative health, and it's something I'm really passionate about. So I'm not just internally doing work on an emotional level, but I've been able to transmute a lot of my understandings of my sensitivities physically and mentally into like applying them to understand my purpose in life, really, and like what I have to contribute individually. Like we all have something special, you know?
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. And I'm so very happy to see that you've kind of found your way, because it is amazing. Okay, so since you are a MeatRx coach, you're also a member of MeatRx.com. Can you give us a little bit of insight into what you feel is a benefit of being a member of MeatRx.com?
Oh yeah, man, like okay, so there are forums where you can communicate with people just by typing, messaging, and like having threads of conversations, which is really great, because if there's somebody in the community that's not apt to turning a camera on or something, they can still communicate with more experienced members who have insight on some details that they need help sorting out. So there's that, but there's also the face-to-face meetings that occur throughout the day. And as my health improved, I found that I was met with some jealousy and some friction in my family and in my social realms. So being able to connect with people when I need them is gold. Connection is so important, you know? So, and it doesn't always have to be a wonderful day. You can have a crappy day, check in with somebody and know that people are there for you and they understand what you're dealing with and what you want to achieve. So, and we have, like, we're growing our meetings now, you know, we have like mental health. We have really great, compassionate people who are heading these meetings up. We have a relationship meeting. We have men's health that's coming up, which is so important. And another thing about MeetRx is that, like, I think we can heal much more with other people than we can just in a vacuum, you know, doing it alone. So I never feel like I'm doing this alone.
Very well said. I absolutely love that. Okay, so our last question. Can you tell everyone a little bit about your coaching philosophy? Like, if they were to come to you as a client, what do you feel you have to offer? How do you deal?
Yeah, I have a very creative approach. When I was a kid, I told my parents I wanted to be an artist, and they didn't meet that. And I'm here to meet that. So I'm focused on who you see yourself as and who you don't see yourself as, what you want, and how are you going to get it. It's about being creative. It's not doing something the way somebody else is doing it. However, if you're somebody who speaks to examples, then we're going to find an example for you to follow that. We need to speak to, like, the inner parts of ourselves that are hungry for something that's not actually food. So I do a lot of deep work, but I also meet people where they're at. So if you're not interested in childhood stuff, I think you're probably focused on more immediate stuff. And there's messaging in the immediate stuff as well that you can work with. So it's not always plowing through, you know, it's not always like do or die. I think there's a lot of different levels that we can meet at and find meaning in them. So creativity, thinking in an expansive way, and being focused visually on what you want.
Beautifully said. Okay, y'all, so you heard it. If you are looking for a carnivore coach, go check out Coach Ashley on the MeetRx platform. And thank you so much for coming on, Ashley. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Amber. Thank you so much. Oh, part of my thing is, the saying is ut nulum caucus. It's Latin for take no, shit.
I love it. Well, that's a great ending. Thanks again, Ashley. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.